Hello, so I'm gonna try another one of these uh, jam sessions, quote unquote. These live jam sessions, not with an instrument, uh, or at least unless you consider talking a lot an instrument. You can always change the channel, so to speak, if it gets boring. But I guess I was thinking about communication and effective communication. And then also, this is a cool shirt under here, actually, if you can see it. My wife got it for me. It says, "World's Greatest Farter." And then it corrects itself, and it says, "World's Greatest Father." But it's a funny shirt. Anyway, so communication is a very okay, so it's a challenging thing to effectively communicate with another person. It does take a lot of patience. It takes a lot of restraint for both people who are communicating, or if it's a larger group, then for everybody who's making up that communication. If you are looking to have a collective communication, now like in a band setting, that is ideal. Obviously, a band, a good band, really needs to be a unit, and it's got to be an organism. It's got to be a one. It's got to be united being. Effective communication is the same idea. You're trying to become a united mind with a mind that is not like your mind at all in every sense. It's best to look at it that way, in my opinion, in meaning that to accept the sovereignty of another person, the uniqueness of another person, the aloneness of another person, the oneness. Like, this is an entire world unto themselves. They are not my world. Our worlds have not merged yet. Communication makes it possible for worlds to merge, so to speak, if you consider a human being a world, which I do. So, like if you think of it, thinking of NASA and, visiting other planets and things like that. We're all, so to speak, we're all, so to speak, astronauts, or we have the ability to visit other planets, quote unquote, by visiting the mind and headspace of another person. This is what communication is for, as far as if I can make such a statement. So seeing the sovereignty of another person, the otherness of another person, is really key in having a good, effective communication. Because there's all kinds of ways that we think, that a person will think and feel about something. And the only gauge we often have is ourselves. So it's good to try to make, really try to make connections with people that we can kind of ask them, like, what's the world like for you? Because here's what it's like for me. Do you experience any of that? And it's always good. It's really important to have relationships like that, where there's not, there's nothing, you don't hold back, and you try to explore what is life about. Like, what do you experience? How do you feel about it? Do you ever does this ever happen to you? Do you ever feel this way? So may we all be able to find those friends with ease, and may we be able to be those friends. So our only reference point a lot of times is our own world. But it's very important to give total sovereignty over to this other world, this other person, and meaning they're not me. They're not like me. They don't think like me. They are a world unto themselves. They didn't grow, they're not me at all. Even your own biological brother or sister is not you. They don't experience the world the same way as you. There may be similarities, and of course there will be, but it's still not you. It's still not me. It's not the way I'm made up. It's not the way I'm created. That's the way they're created. And it's completely unique. And if I want to visit that planet, I have to do a good bit of self-suspension, where I'm willing to put myself on hold for a bit in the conversation and sort of remove myself from my own if I want to truly get this other person, I've got to suspend myself for a little bit and let go of prejudgments, let go of reactive type of thinking, where I think I know what the person's going to say, and so I just talk over them, even though I probably don't know what they're going to say. And more often than not, we don't know what the other person's going to say. And even if we do, it's good to just make sure that you don't know what the other person's going to say. And when we do that, it's good to sort of, acknowledge, hey, I jumped to conclusions, and I'm sorry about that. So self-suspension, it is a mental activity. You have to be willing to understand your own biases and your own tendencies as a human being, and sort of it's not reprimand. We have a problem with beating ourselves up in the world today. So it's not about guilting yourself, but it's more about, how do I understand this other person? And it's very important to suspend your emotional reactions in that conversation for a while till we understand where another person is coming from. Because I believe that most tension in relationships comes from miscommunication, misunderstanding, and talking from two different places, and you haven't matched up your world. It's like we end up completely miscommunicating. It's not the only thing that happens. There's other problems, but there's many things that do happen that are based on miscommunication and misunderstanding. And so much of this has to do with intake and restraining your output for a while in a conversation. So these are acts of self-suspension, where you know how you feel about something, you're aware of it, you feel your emotions, you might get fired up about something somebody's saying, but wait a minute. Do I really know what this person's going to say? Where did this person come from? If it's a close friend, did I take something personally that the person actually didn't say? Did I come up with something in my head that he said that he didn't say? Was I really listening? Did I start accidentally a chain reaction of reactions that don't make sense in a conversation? So self-suspension, listening, is crucial in effective communication, in my opinion. And it's as in every video that I've made, if I need to keep reiterating it, I think it's so obvious, it should be obvious that I'm nowhere, or do I believe that I have a lot to, I'm just working through this myself. I'm working through it myself. But anyway, communication and effective communication really starts with listening, in my opinion. It does not start. Doesn't start with output. It starts with intake, and that's an act of self-suspension, or being able to maneuver through analyzing, if you want to call it that, or using our minds to explore and find in those, when is it time for me to talk? When is it time for me to listen? What is the other person, where's the other person coming from? Get our minds into the overall perspective of a conversation. And don't take someone for granted. Don't take what they've been through for granted. Don't take what they're going through for granted, because we're made up of physicality. We don't see what a person is struggling with. Sometimes we don't even know what we're struggling with. And the communication will reveal sometimes what we're struggling with, if it's in a healthy way. We have to work on removing some of our self-driven motives away in a conversation, and try to view a larger scope of a conversation. In a similar way, in a band, when you play in a band, a good band, you make a lot of compromises when it's going well, because you see that the music is the larger thing that you're going to be given over to as a band. And so some of your selfish, what you want to do, unless of course you're in a, I'm talking about a band that is a collective, not, and even then, that's another conversation. Oh, thank you, good to hear from you. Hope Pittsburgh is good. So in a band that is more of a collective, where you're deciding, like the band I play in Chillin', we're very much a collective. And we write, we have different writers on tunes, and we have tunes that we write together and stuff like that. But we're a collective in terms of the sound, in terms of good to hear. In terms of all that stuff, we're a collective group of compromisers. That is what is called upon, especially when you are improvising with other musicians. You must be willing to compromise, and you must see space, or I believe, sorry to use words like must, but it's very crucial to use space as a note itself, as space, using space as a function of your communication. When do I lay out? It's very similar to a verbal interaction between people. Where do I lay back and learn and intake? Similar to a band. What's the drummer doing? What's his kick drum doing? I kind of like that. Wow, I didn't hear that before. What's the piano play? What is that he's playing? What could I do to harmonize that? Similar in a conversation. It's a lot of flexing those muscles of restraint and giving forth, knowing when you're called upon. Oh, it's, not okay. Yeah, it's my time to solo now, and I'm called upon to do that, and that's my time to say something. And then there's my time to accentuate the other soloists. So if that means not playing at all for a while, for the sake of the music and for the sake of giving the other musician the platform that they need to express themselves, you decide I'm going to restrain myself from playing this instrument, because that in and of itself is a musical statement. Silence is a musical statement. So in conversation, verbal conversation, silence, and a give and take on silence, and a give and take. I don't know if it's still on. Hopefully it's still on. It says I have a bad connection. Somebody tell me if this is still running, because it says I have a bad connection. So it's hard to see if I should just end it now. Give me a thumbs up, anybody? Mom? All right. Let's see here. Still running but blurry. All right. Well, if you can hear me, that's cool. If you can hear me, thank you guys. That's still running with blurry. All right, if you don't mind not looking at me, then that's good, because I don't like looking at myself all the time. Whatever. I'm not going to be, I don't want to, whatever. Anyway, to try to wrap this little jam session up. Communication, silence is this beautiful window into listening. And listening, where you're processing mentally and intellectually what a person is telling you and trying to get an understanding. Did I get it correctly? Did I hear that okay? Is this what this person's saying? Ask questions. Check in with somebody. Make sure you know what they're talking about before we jump to quick conclusions and then have a strong reactions toward each other. Please do. I didn't make it up. I don't think. I didn't make it up. So silence is this opportunity, and self-restraint is this practice of giving the floor over completely. Remove yourself for a little while. Remove ourselves for a little while. Get into the world of the other person. It is a compromise. It's very important to compromise. It doesn't mean only that. Yes, you have to have time for yourself too, and you got to have friends that will do that for each other. But that is it's an effort. It takes work, and that's okay. That's good, because then you own that friendship. You own that relationship. You guys have become a very cohesive unit, and that's been an earned thing, and nobody can take that. Nothing can take that away from friends when they've really worked on that. So anyway, may God bless us all to have those relationships and to really treasure them, cherish them, work on them, and to expand them, and always be inclusive, including people, to give them a chance, give people a chance to give ourselves a chance to find ourselves. And anyway, have a great day. Sorry for the technological difficulty.